1 week ago today, our guest speaker asked the crowd at Union Park on the near west side, what would the city of Chicago be without the immigrants here today? Then he led a chant, and I quote, "Today we march, tomorrow we vote." Our guest today is the first Hispanic lawmaker Illinois sent to Washington. His interest in politics was sparked when he delivered newspapers to the late Mayor Richard J. Daley in City Hall. Our guest speaker's political skills came to light with the election of the late Mayor Harold Washington, and he was elected alderman from the 26th Ward. Our guest today deserves enormous credit for securing funding for the CTA's Douglas branch of the Blue Line, preventing it from being closed. He is a prime sponsor of the McCain-Kennedy immigration bill now being considered in the United States Senate. He was born in Chicago and graduated from Northeastern Illinois University. Our guest today and his wonderful and beautiful wife, Sarita, have two wonderful and beautiful daughters, Sarita, Omira, and Jessica. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Congressman from the 4th Congressional District in Illinois, Luis Gutierrez. Congressman?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I hired Jay for that introduction. I want to thank my friends at the City Club. I want to thank Jay Doherty for the very kind and generous introduction. And I want to repeat to my wife, Zoraida, remember, get good information. Don't call him Paul, call him Dr. Green. He gives better information. Get it all? Come and help. And thanks to all of you for coming downtown in the middle of the day. I know it's not easy to break away from work, and I really appreciate you being here. Actually, come to think about it, just 1 week ago today, I did something very similar. I spent time with a few people who took a break from work to join in a discussion and a debate about public policy. About 400,000 people, to be precise. In fact, they slipped away for more than lunch. They slipped away for the whole day. Some of them pulled their children out of school to be part of that historic day. Restaurant and store owners closed down so their employees could come downtown. To accommodate everyone who left work last Monday, Maggiano's would have to set up about 40,000 more tables. That would be pretty good lunch business here. I'm sorry the draw is so much lower. When you speak here, the City Club asks you to title your speech. The title I chose is A Vision for Chicago's Future. I chose that title before last Monday's march. The truth is, 1 week ago, all of us, whether we marched ourselves, watched from an office building, or saw it on the news, all of us saw Chicago's future. We saw a very human vision of Chicago's future. Obviously, 1 week ago, it wasn't speeches that filled the loop with unprecedented crowds. What filled city after city, and what is changing the direction of our nation, I believe, is an idea. An idea that resonates in Chicago. In fact, an idea that is at the heart of my vision for the future of our city. I believe the idea that drew nearly 500,000 people out of their homes, away from their jobs, and made activists out of average folks who usually go about their lives quietly is this: opportunities for working people. Thank you, Jay.
Louis, it's not whiskey.
Opportunities for working people. The ability to do better for yourself and for your family, to have economic security and to build a better future. I believe that if you care about Chicago's future, the simple but powerful idea of building opportunities for working people should guide your vision. Here's what I mean. Cities compete just like corporations do for capital, for investment, for human infrastructure, and that defines their success or failure. I want Chicago to compete and to win. I want Chicago to excel and grow because we provide more opportunities for working people. We can do that, and we can do it better in 3 ways. First, we focus on the most vital part of a city's infrastructure, its public schools. And we focus on them every day without distractions like billion-dollar lakefront projects or Olympic dreams. Second, we do what any corporation facing leadership failure does. We forge a new management contract with the people we serve. That means top-to-bottom reform of city government, from the way we hire employees to the way we raise money for political campaigns. Third, we shift our city resources toward an overall goal, opportunities for working people. That means investment in programs that matter most to the human capital of Chicago in every single neighborhood: job creation, public transportation, and affordable housing. I think these 3 pillars should be the basis of a new contract with the people of Chicago. Improve our schools, reform our government, invest in our people. This is a roadmap to a growing, thriving city that competes in the 21st century economy. The marches were living proof of this roadmap is the right thing to do. Nearly 500,000 people marched in Chicago last week. It's as if all of Cleveland, every single person in Cleveland, or all of Albuquerque or Kansas City or Oakland got on buses and came to our city and marched. But in all of the scapegoating and punditry that surrounds the immigration debate, the real message of those marchers can get lost. It was about the importance of work, taking pride in one's work, in one's potential, opportunities for working people. Immigrants come to Chicago today for the same reason they've always come to our great city. For the same reason that most of you in this room came to Chicago and chose to stay. It's not the weather, it's not the lyric opera or the lakefront, it's not even the Cubs or the Bulls. What we saw on Monday was 500,000 people who care about jobs and economic opportunity. Opportunities for working people. Whether you come to Chicago because a landscaping company has a $9 an hour job for you, or because Winston & Strawn offers you a 6 or a 7-figure partnership. You come because you're hoping for opportunities to work, to thrive, and to make a better life. But the reasons you stay in Chicago are different. And that's why a new vision for Chicago is important. You stay in Chicago because the public schools educate your children well. You stay because you trust your city government to deliver the services you need and not waste your tax dollars on patronage and corruption. On Monday, we saw 500,000 people who have come here and want to stay. That's a powerful message about our city's potential. Our city is healthy because those 500,000 marchers have given Chicago a shot of adrenaline to power it into the 21st century. And that is why my vision for Chicago's future and the message of the march can't be separated. You know, it's not a Mexican message, or a Latino message, or an immigrant message. It's an American message. It is Chicago's message. We all know these lines from Carl Sandburg's poem, City of Big Shoulders, Hog Butcher, Tool Maker. But I like these lines better. Come and show me another city with lifted head singing, so proud to be alive and coarse and strong and cunning. Here is a tall, bold slugger set vivid against the little, soft cities. Don't those lines describe Monday's march? Don't they describe a city that wants to work and grow? On Monday, wasn't Chicago set vivid against the little, soft cities of America? I love Chicago. My dad barely spoke English, drove a cab sometimes 12 hours a day, almost never took a vacation. My mom worked in a factory. I was thrilled to get a paper route so I could have a couple of extra dollars. The story of every person in my neighborhood was just the same. And yet, in Chicago, a city that values work, look at what we can accomplish. It has always been our economy, our opportunities for working people that make Chicago vivid, and set us apart from those little soft cities. A city's vitality, a city's beating heart is its people. You know, when the Lithuanians and the Bohemians and the Poles who made their homes and businesses on and around 26th Street in Chicago moved 25 years ago to the suburbs, the southwest side of our city could have withered and died. Instead, it was resuscitated and reborn by immigrants. Chicago's population, its beating heart, has grown for the first time in 30 years because of the people you saw marching. Remember, population isn't just numbers on a page. A growing population means an increasing tax base. It means a larger share of federal and state resources. It means that key capital, human capital, the entrepreneur's idea and competition that goes with it is flowing back into our city. I look around this room and I see business people who make Chicago work. I ask you, look at the march for what it really is. It's small businesses waiting to be born, researchers who will develop new products, artists who will revitalize our old neighborhoods, consumers who will buy more products. A growing Chicago has growing dreams. An expanding Chicago has expanding potential. Chicago has flourished because it changes and it adapts. Newcomers that threaten the status quo? That's not a new idea. In 1920, Chicago was also changing. Massive immigration filled the stockyards and the steel industries, but pay was low and conditions were terrible. The education system couldn't keep up with the growing population. And just to show what a truly long time ago it was, Chicago had a Republican mayor, Big Bill Thompson. Big Bill kept his tight grip by assuring that the old immigrants to Chicago, the real Chicagoans, you know, the English and others, kept political power away from those scary, unpredictable, new immigrants to Chicago, those scary Irish and Italians. In fact, you might enjoy these words from a newspaper editorial from around that time. Quote, "These people are by their nature unruly and not fit for civil society and government. We have little hope of containing them other than by the force of law," end quote. Source of that quote? Some of you think it was the Minutemen. But instead, that's an editorial in the esteemed New York Times, 1895. And who was not fit for civil society and government? Italians. Well, Big Bill Thompson worked to keep the new kids out of the corridors of power as best he could. But he failed, and Chicago thrived because instead of fearing change, Chicago embraced it. So those new immigrants, Irish, Italian, Bohemians, Czechs, Russians, and others, decided they needed a voice, and they organized and they registered to vote. And in 1931, a Czech immigrant was elected mayor. Anton Cermak won because he was a coalition builder. After Cermak's death, Chicago turned to another group of new immigrants. It elected its first Irish mayor, Edward Kelly. My history gets a little fuzzy after that, but I'm pretty sure the Irish have had a little to do and a little input in Chicago politics ever since. But my point is not that power derives from one person who sits in a big chair on the 5th floor of City Hall. Rather, it is the people who have always made and remade Chicago. Chicago doesn't start at the top, it starts at the bottom. Change doesn't start at the top, it starts at the bottom. Change doesn't start in City Hall, it starts in the neighborhood. In Chicago, it started with Germans at the turn of the century, then the Irish, African Americans 30 years later, and today, Latinos. But not with Latinos alone. With Latinos as part of a broader coalition, a coalition with African Americans and Asians and Africans and Jews and Muslims and Christians, working people from all over the city, revitalizing our city and wanting it to make it a better city for all. That is our heritage, and it is indeed our future, and that is what my vision is. I say it again, 3 priorities: improve our school, reform our government, invest in our people. First, schools. A city without quality schools is a city without opportunity, a city without a future. On schools, Mayor Daley has worked hard and made a difference, but we have a long way to go. For all the progress we've made in our school, the most notable number we've heard lately is the number 6. That's the number of Chicago public school freshmen out of every 100 who will graduate from a 4-year college. 6 out of every 100. The number is 2 for Latino males. 2 out of every 100. To me, that's unacceptable. It's offensive. It means that all across Chicago, despite a decade of school reform, there are families who simply have no hope, no future. Judge the next leader of our city by whether he changes that number. A high school dropout on average earns about $22,000 a year. A college graduate earns $50,000 on average a year. I want more college graduates in Chicago. How do we get there? How do we get there? We raise standards. We respect teachers. Realize that we need entirely different and creative path to success for children who are not making it to college. When I say raise standards, I mean do it aggressively. When we expect more, we get more. The high school curriculum should be strengthened. Governor Blagojevich raised state graduation standards for the first time in 21 years. Chicago should go even further. Make your standard excellence, not what's acceptable. More advanced placement courses, more individualized help, more direct college preparation. And give kids the teachers who will help them reach those goals. One thing that troubles me about public schools is that many teachers have to scrape by to even afford to live in this city. That's a shame that you're a public school teacher and you can barely afford to live in this city. In addition to paying our teachers what they're worth, in addition to rewarding excellence, I would propose direct housing assistance that makes teachers core members of the communities where they are teaching our children. Tough standards, good teachers, and a path to college. Some good news last week about schools was the demonstrated success of charter schools. They put kids in position to succeed at a much higher rate than other public schools. We should dramatically increase our number of charter schools. If they need to be the rule rather than the exception, then that should be our goal. To make these changes takes leadership. I strongly believe that the people of Chicago have the right to ask every single day of their mayor this question: what have you done this month, this week, today, to improve the schools? Lately, I believe the answer would be our mayor has been distracted by less important priorities, by Millennium Park, by an Olympic bid. Improve our schools and beautiful parks and world-class lakefront follow. Take your eye off our schools, and the people who care about our parks will go away. Attention and focus and resources are not infinite. Attention, focus, and resources are not infinite. Every hour spent on the Olympics is an hour that could be spent on improving our schools. Every dollar used to build world-class bicycle racing track is a dollar that could be redirected to improving the wages and salaries of our teachers. Should I lead this city, I have no interest in my legacy being the number of visitors to a beautiful lakefront park or the year the Olympics came to Chicago. It would be how many more kids graduated, how many quality teachers we hire, and how many new schools were built. Six out of every 100 kids graduating, 6 out of every 100 kids graduating from college cannot stand. And neither the bean nor any number of Olympic gold medals will change that number. Here's what will. In my vision for the future, every single workday for the leader of the city starts with improving public schools every day. Second, reform our government. It's easy to say. It's harder to do, but it must be done. I've been an alderman and a congressman. I've seen City Hall up close. It's not pretty. I know when it comes to personnel and hiring that there are no half answers. So if I were leading this city, I would take hiring, which is at the heart of the headlines we've read about coming out of City Hall. I would take the hiring of city workers out of the city's hands. Privatize it. Hire a human relations firm. Give them direction and let them do it appropriately and professionally, not politically. Corporations do it. Motorola does it. Exelon does it. Boeing does it. Many corporations in Chicago do it every day. They do it right, and we must do it right, and we must do it fast. It doesn't mean devalue workers. It doesn't mean attack unions. I would not treat workers poorly. I would hire them professionally. I would not treat workers poorly. I would institute a system that hires them professionally. You will get better workers who focus on delivering city services instead of delivering the right results in their precinct on election day. Second, I've lived in Chicago. I've been in the Congress now for 14 years with strict federal guidelines on how to raise money. I supported McCain-Feingold campaign reforms. They take corporate money out of politics. We should bring it to the city of Chicago. Further, bring sunshine to contribution. Disclose them more quickly with more information about the individuals who give, their names, their address, their positions in the workforce. Fundraising should be an open book. These two proposals would be seismic shifts in the culture of politics in the city of Chicago. And third, invest in people. Opportunities for working people means a shift in priorities toward the services and programs that Chicagoans rely on every day. I'm sure that you share this with me. I'm gravely concerned about the future of the Chicago Transit Authority. We cannot live with annual doomsday scenarios from the CTA leadership about the future viability of our public transit in Chicago. As a member of Congress, I helped bring back more than $300 million for the Blue Line. But then I had to fight to keep the stations open at the times that people would use them. Affordable, efficient public transit means more opportunities for working people, and I would make it a priority. I also will make aggressive job creation a priority again in the city. I believe we've been ignoring placing Chicago on the forefront of our new economy. While the state has used EDGE tax credits and other incentives to make Illinois more competitive, too often, Chicago is willing to watch quietly while jobs go to Aurora or Austin or Albuquerque instead of our neighborhoods. I want opportunities for workers in our traditional industries, and I want Chicago to think creatively about how we bring new industries and businesses to the city that works where they belong. And I want to work with you to do it. Because change is good. You know, not unlike a company, a corporation, or a sports team, or a civic institution. Government suffers from having the same leadership too long. That same leadership talks to the same people, hears the same ideas, trusts the same advisors. Chicago needs a new dialogue between business and labor and government that grows new incentives for a new economy. Not enough of you are being listened to. It's time to get a bigger table with new seats that lead to new ideas. Improve our schools, reform our government, invest in our people. I would like to help Chicago reach those goals. Should I be reelected in November to the Congress of the United States for my 8th term, I will continue to travel the country and fight for the rights of immigrants. I'm building a new organization here in Chicago that unites the immigrant Latino community in new ways, building coalitions, setting goals, demanding action, and real results. I can tell you that the march was just the beginning. We will naturalize and make citizens of the hundreds of thousands of people who are legal permanent residents right here in the state of Illinois. I'm leading a national day of citizenship, the 1st of July, where 60, 70 cities will gather together with workshops across this country, where tens of thousands of people will take the first step to becoming citizens of the United States of America. In Chicago, we're going to get them to the polls in record numbers on Election Day. You see, in 1920, the Irish out-organized everybody. African Americans did it under Harold Washington 60 years later. I feel it's happening again, because we can give working people in Chicago something to believe in, a reason to register to vote in record numbers. Chicago is a strong and great city, but it's not great enough. Not for everybody, not for all of our people. Not when the schools still aren't meeting our expectation, not when government has lost control and lost touch, not when the CTA threatens to eviscerate its services, and we don't even have enough affordable housing to house our teachers. I would like to help Chicago turn the page on the next chapter. Can I help by running for mayor of this great city? I don't know. But I do know this. Now that I've decided to leave Congress, I have the opportunity to become the most productive and slightly dangerous kind of politician, one who doesn't worry every day about getting reelected. Chicago could benefit from having more politicians with nothing to lose, no patronage to protect, no special interest to please. I've already been lucky enough. I've been blessed. I'm the son of a cab driver who will have served 8 terms in the greatest legislative body in the history of the world. I look forward to more time with my family and my community and with my wife, Zoraida. I look forward to having more time here in the city that I love. But it would be awfully hard for me to say no to a campaign for mayor if that campaign can help Chicago. If that campaign says over and over again, better schools, reform government, create opportunities for working people. If that campaign is more about empowering people, raising issues, and taking on the status quo than simply changing the names and the faces of those who hand out the patronage at City Hall. A campaign that would rather tell the truth and lose than compromise and win. There is much more we can do together. I ask you, all my friends gathered here this afternoon, let me know what you think about the direction our city should take, how Chicago can reach its full potential, how we all can work together. When Martin Luther King led one of America's greatest marches, the March on Washington more than 40 years ago, he stood beneath the statue of Abraham Lincoln and said, quote, "We refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. I believe Chicago has great, vast vaults of opportunity for the people who marched last week, for the people in this room, for every person who deserves a greater future for their family. I hope together we can help every working person in Chicago to cash that check of opportunity. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
We have some time for questions. The rules are very simple. There's a microphone over there. Step right up, say who you are. If you represent an organization, name the organization, and please make your question short and to the point. Congressman, it looks like you pitched a no-hitter. By the way, while you're getting up there, anyone who wants to learn more about that history of Chicago and what the Congressman was talking about, may I suggest the book The Mayors, the Chicago Political Tradition. I can't think of the author offhand, but I think it's Pablo Verde. So you may find it in some of your best bookstores, right next to the Da Vinci Codes. Okay, madam, go right ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Yes.
Hello, Congressman Gutierrez. I'm Sally Baker. I am a Gold Coast Guest House Bed and Breakfast. And I was wondering if you could kindly address your efforts on behalf of controlling genetically modified products in Congress.
You know something? I have done, I can't honestly answer that question for you. I figured a long time ago when I went to Congress that there were 435 members of the House of Representatives. And I could be a generalist and know a little bit about everything, or I could specialize in one area. And fortunately, unfortunately for the city of Chicago, I chose immigration as being the focus of my attention. And I've served on the Banking and Veterans Committee. So those are kind of my specialties. So I would probably just say to you, just like you go to a general practitioner, I'm going to need a specialist to answer that question, to answer it well.
Good answer. The moderator, as Jeff goes up there to the microphone for one of his rather simple, terse questions, the moderator becomes a questioner. Congressman, you're running for re-election.
Yes, sir.
Previously, individual congressman who ran for re-election, very soon after that, has to announce for the mayoralty. There's not like a long span. You're going to have to file in December if you're going to be running in February of '07. Do you have any time frame, any timeline?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Green. No, I really don't. I said a couple of things to my friends. I see Franz Spillman here, and others who have called me about this, and I've been pretty clear. I haven't made a decision about what to do, particularly with my future. I know I will always be part of the city of Chicago. Chicago's my home. I was born here. I expect to continue to thrive here with my wife, Zoraida. I have a 26-year-old that gets married the 12th of August. I'm looking at my wife. She's moving her lips. The 12th, right, honey, of August? And the reason I said the 17th is because my 18-year-old Jessica is going to college at Champaign-Urbana. So we take her the 17th that day. So we have a very busy framework in the next, I don't know, few weeks. You can imagine what it's like. And then we're going to be those, what do they call it, empty nesters, right? But we know that Luisito, our grandson's going to be coming back to visit with us a lot, and our daughters are going to spend a lot of time. And I'm buying Jessica a brand new car, make sure she can get to and from Champaign-Urbana real quickly and efficiently to come back and see it. I know it's really my self-interest. I'm buying her the car, but don't let her know that. She still thinks it's about her. So I haven't, but what I wanted to do, see, I really believe that engaging Chicago's political community, civic community, nonprofit community, by engaging all of the sectors of Chicago's community in a debate about the future, you don't necessarily have to run for mayor of the city of Chicago. You need to share and expose your ideas and let and in that exchange, we can create a better, more fruitful environment for all of us to grow in. So I haven't made that decision. I said two things to Fran. Remember I said, A, do I have a vision for the city of Chicago and am I working on it? And I think I said, Fran, I think I was figuring it out, but then I got an invitation from the city club, so I advanced it a little from September. I said, you know, I'll put something together by September. But secondly, look, I worked under Harold Washington. I was administrative assistant in the mayor's office. What a wonderful job. What a wonderful opportunity. I was living in the neighborhood. He gave many of us. He was the only person to give us an opportunity. And he gave me and Jesus Garcia and others an opportunity to come and work in city government. I saw how many hours Mayor Harold Washington worked. From 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening and 8 and 9, Monday through Saturday, a little time off on Sunday, maybe. When Mayor Daley was elected mayor of the city of Chicago in 1989, I supported him for election as mayor of the city of Chicago. Interestingly enough, I was criticized and chastised by many for supporting him, but now everybody's on the same team. So it's a good thing to show some leadership and vision. But more importantly, I remember as a city council member and then as a congressman trying to get into his tight budget. Into his tight schedule and going to see him. And when I did go to see him, there'd be somebody in there, and I'd be going in, there'd be somebody waiting for him outside. And he shows up every day, and he puts in a lot of hours. That takes an incredible amount of commitment and dedication and vocation to the job. A lot. More than it takes even to be a great congressman. It takes more to be a great mayor of the city of Chicago. And I have to ask, and Zoraida and I have to talk about that commitment to that vocation, because if I don't have it and I can't commit to it, then you know something? I cannot take on the challenge. It is something that you have to evaluate personally. Once we've made that evaluation, we'll make a decision, and we'll share it with the greater Chicagoland community.
Anthony?
Yes, Congressman, I'm a member of the board here for the City Club, and I have an issue for you I'd like you to address around education. I admire you for putting that as a priority number one. I think it's critical. Education, as they say, is a leg up for everyone in society. So I have two basic issues. One is, as I understand it here in Illinois, the formula for education is partially based on property taxes, which creates quite a disparity across the state. So I wonder, how would you address this disparity of funding for education as one item or one issue around education I'd like to hear you speak to. The second one is performance-based funding. I find I'm very uneasy to think about teachers and schools where principals are being paid well and teachers are being paid reasonably well, where the students are failing, but yet the teachers continue to get paid. And instead of automatic compensation and raises, I think it ought to be based on performance. I was wondering what your thoughts may be on the two issues. Thank you.
Two things. Number one, in the Clinton's administration, we spoke and acted on hiring more teachers in this country. And first we started by saying we're going to put, remember, 100,000 police officers on the beats across this country? Well, you know something? Be less need for police officers on the beat if kids were graduating from college and focused in their education. And so I would say that at the federal level, I would want to join other CEOs of large cities and small cities and medium cities so that we could do more than simply have a slogan, leave no child behind, which sets standards and prerogatives at the federal level for local government, but doesn't give it the resources that are necessary. Look, you're absolutely right. As long as we use property taxes, those of us who live in neighborhoods where homes are worth less get just less in property taxes, and therefore that's the funding. I think we have to go back to our state mandate. The state constitution of the state of Illinois states that it is the state that will bear the principal responsibility for the education of our children. And I think the state of Illinois, through its taxing system, and I'm talking particularly about state income tax, have to be engaged. We need to get the state to fulfill its responsibility. And then I think we need to look at waste and corruption and what is the cost of waste and corruption so that we can put. Third, you say to me, I don't know how much Millennium Park costs. There are different figures. 450 million, 500 million, 6, 700 million. I think people would probably anywhere between $500 and $700 million. I think the CEO, the head of the city of Chicago, whoever that would be in the next term, has to say, let me go ahead and raise 5, 6, 700. Instead of bringing the Olympics here and the hundreds of millions of dollars that we would have to invest in the Olympics, I would say, why don't we raise those hundreds of millions of dollars from all of corporate Chicago, from all of good Chicago? Why don't we look at how we're going to, the same place we're going to find the money for the Olympics, the same place we found it for Millennium Park. Let's find it to improve our school system, pay our teachers. It's a shame that in the city of Chicago, you pay someone $35,000 a year and when that gets 70. We all make decisions here in this room. We chose Chicago to come to work and to make our future. That's the beginning, the change, right? We said, let's go to Chicago. It's got opportunities for them. I said earlier, we decide to stay because of our schools. So I would say to you, I want to pay my teachers in my city what their real value is. If corporations dealt with the teaching system, with their own employees, the way we deal with our teaching system, they'd have problems too. So let's pay teachers well, and let's go to more chartered schools, and let's focus, and let's build more classrooms. We can do it. I simply say, if we can build Millennium Park, if we can bring the Olympics to Chicago, we can improve our educational system. And it's a question about not having an infinite amount of time and energy and focus. So you have to grasp what you think is truly important and set an agenda around that. Thank you.
Thank you again.
A couple of more questions, and Congressman, a tad shorter answers.
Sorry.
Yeah, the professor's got his eye on you.
Dr. Green.
Just a little. So we get because a lot of people want to ask you a question. Go right ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. I really loved your comment.
State your name, please.
My name is Laura Perna, and I'm a resident of Oak Park, Illinois, adjacent to the great, nice community adjacent to the great city of Chicago. What happens in Chicago affects Oak Park and vice versa. I am very troubled at the loss of a high school in the city of Chicago adjacent to Oak Park. I'm especially sad for all concerned, but it must be very sad to lose a neighborhood high school. I think this has ramifications for everybody in Chicago and the suburbs surrounding Chicago. What do you think can be done about a situation like this, and can you suggest anything that might prevent the loss of the neighborhood high school? Charter schools are good, but I do think the children in the general population who don't get into a charter school deserve a quality high school in their neighborhood.
I say if there is such, you look for without community support and without support of the residents in the immediate neighborhood, a school cannot survive. It needs the support of the immediate population around that school. I agree with you, but I just hasten to say, look, I know what is working, and charter schools are working. They get students and parents and teachers and the community and the corporate community and the civic community. They get them all involved and intertwined. I think that is what we need to do. We need to decentralize the way we educate our children so that there are these independent spheres of education that we learn from one another. And so what I would say, I'd go to that neighborhood. I'd call upon the residents of that neighborhood to come together and see how we bring the business and the corporate and the civic community together to keep that school open. Is that short enough for you,
Can I
Doc?
just ask a quick follow-up?
Real quick, please.
Real quick, would you empower the local school councils? Do you like that concept? Do you think they need more resources at their disposal?
I think you set standards first. You set standards across the system first. But you need to have the flexibility to create and to be innovative in each and every center. Look, there are ideas out there just being ready. But people need an opportunity to bring those ideas to the forefront and see them executed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congressman, to close, that well-known Chicago lover, Jeff, come on up to the microphone to close. Bring us together. He promised to make it a question, breaking his tradition here.
I don't ask many questions. You know.
But you can give 15 seconds for your advertisement. Go ahead.
Jeff Berkowitz, host and producer of Public Affairs, airing every Monday night, including tonight at 8:30 p.m. on cable channel 21 throughout the city of Chicago on CAN TV.
All right.
All right, Jeff, you're on your roll.
Congressman Gutierrez, it sounds like you're announcing an exploratory committee to run for mayor, but you're giving yourself the option, but you haven't decided yet, it sounds like, tell me if I'm right, whether you want to take on Mayor Daley, whether you want to see if something happens that makes it easier, I don't know what that would be, or whether, if he doesn't run, you're all set. I mean, you've announced your program, you've criticized Millennium Park, you've criticized the corruption, the reform, what more should be done in education.
Jeff, we heard the speech. What's your question?
Is there any reason why anybody in this room should think you're not running for mayor?
Yeah.
Of the state of Chicago.
I'm going to give you a very quick and simple answer because Zoraida and I haven't made that decision yet. And unlike, I would say, in the beginning of my political career, when I decided I was going to run for committeeman of the 32nd Ward against Dan Rostenkowski, I kind of showed up one day and told my wife, I quit my job, I took my pension, I'm driving a cab again, I'm running for committeeman, and she supported me. When I ran for alderman in '86, I kind of said, Zoraida, you know what, there's this great opportunity, I hope you have some time to help me out, I'm running for alderman. And then in '92, I called her up one day and I said, hey, Zoraida, guess what? There's a new congressional seat. Guess what I'm going to be doing for the next, 12, 13, 14 years of my life? I'm going to Congress. And you know something? That wasn't right. It wasn't the way I should have managed my personal affairs and the affairs with my wife. So this time, I assure you, she and I are having a conversation before I tell you or anybody else what I'm doing.
Can I just ask Zoraida now and find out the answer?
Ladies and gentlemen, how about a big round of applause for our speaker? Oh, Louie, hold it.
This is nice.
Alderman, Congressman, Mayor, whatever, a City Club Cup, the history of the City Club of Chicago, and a one-year membership.
Hey.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.